Z4 is definitely a car that has some really good things about it, but at the same time, there's things that bug me about it. So let me go through a couple of things that really bugs me about this Z4. And I'm not sure if it's this particular Z4, all Z4s, or just across the board when it comes to Roadsters. The cabin noise in this car is pretty loud. And what I mean by that is wind noise. It gets pretty loud once you're at highway speeds. Anything below that is fine. But it's just one of those things where sometimes you get a little fatigued on long drives because there's a little wind noise, and the way that I kind of fix that is just to put on some music. Another thing that kind of bugs me is there's these little rattles throughout the car, and you know, for a car that's 11, 12 years old, that's kind of to be expected. But at the same time, when you get a BMW, you know, you kind of expect this higher level of craftsmanship. And you know, on the forums, apparently this car is one of those exceptions, and definitely lacks some of the BMW interior quality that you'd expect. Another thing that bugs me about this car is this manual gearbox. So this is my first manual transmission car, but I have driven a lot of different cars before, and I've got to say that BMW's manual transmissions are known to be notoriously notchy, and having that notchy feeling where you're sure that you're in a gear or not is a good thing. But at the same time, with this gear change from first to second gear, or anytime I'm in third gear downshifting to second gear, there's a reluctancy for the gearbox to go into gear. And you know, this might be something you think that, oh, it's just your particular Z4. Well, it's really not. I've looked into this on the forums, and it seems like a lot of people have issues with it. So one of the things that people said has helped is a different shifter. So what I've gotten here is a short shifter from BMW, from the M line of cars, and it's definitely helped a lot because the knob is not only shorter, but it's weighted. So this weighted shift knob definitely helps with the gear changes. Another thing that you can do to help with the notchiness, sometimes of it not wanting to go into gear, is to change out the manual transmission oil. That really helped with this particular car. I don't know what oil was in it before, but I decided to go with Royal Purple Synchromax, and that really helped out the notchiness, reluctancy to go into gear. And finally, taking out the inside the gearbox, there is a sorry, I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Let me cut the clip and think about it, and then I'll get right back to you. A bunch of BMWs have this thing called a CDV, also known as a clutch delay valve. And what a clutch delay valve does is that it basically doesn't allow you to drop the clutch. So this BMW claims that it'll help with the life of the clutch, but in actuality, if you know how to drive a stick shift car, that can get in the way of smooth shifting, and it'll probably hurt your engine over, hurt your transmission over a long period of time. So the clutch delay valve delete is a quick 10-minute job. All you do is remove the valve and connect the two ends together. And essentially what you're doing is you're allowing now to just engage the clutch much quicker. This gets rid of this kind of kangaroo feeling that you get when you're going from first to second. So with those three things changed in this car, the manual transmission is definitely a lot more enjoyable, and I don't have any complaints about the transmission anymore. So onto some of the things that I really do like about this car, and I think some of these things you might find surprising. So one of the things that I really like about this car is that it gets good gas mileage, and I think that's surprising to most people, because you know, you expect this two-door a Roadster to have a lot of power. It's a 3-liter engine, so you wouldn't expect it to get great gas mileage, but in fact it actually does. On the highway, I can actually maintain about 38 miles per gallon, cruising around 60 miles per hour, which is much higher than the EPA ratings that were given for this car. And for me, I really love saving gas because I love all kinds of things that a car can do. So while I really love to play around in cars, when I'm just commuting, I really focus on saving gas. And so I'm actually going to do a video later on how you can hypermile a car. It's something that I did with my old cars, and I do it with this car occasionally. Not all the time, but it's definitely a good thing to save gas so that when you do play, you don't feel so bad. So that's one thing I really like about this car, the miles per gallon. Next thing I really like about this car is that unlike the Miata or the S2000, this car gets compliments and it gets looks from other people. And that might seem kind of superficial, but this was kind of what I was talking about when it came to emotion for a car. I really like this car, and it's nice to know that some other people appreciate how this car is as well. And I've had people stop me and say, hey, nice car, stuff like that. You know, it seems really superficial, but it's one of those things where if I was in a Miata or S2000, I feel like I wouldn't get those kinds of compliments. And you know, while that might not really matter if you love your car yourself, to me, I definitely want something that other people will like as well. Not just to show off that you have a nice car or anything, but having a car that other people appreciate as well is definitely something that invokes emotion in me. Another thing I really like about the car is, I think I mentioned this already, it has really good torque, so even when you're not really flogging this car using it at high RPMs, it has enough power to get around town, and there's never a time where I really feel like I need more power. So other than just torque, just in general, the power is very good. I forgot to mention one thing that I didn't like about this car, and it kind of goes along with the rattles, and that is the suspension. Granted, anytime you have a car that's low to the ground, you're always going to have not as good handling, as other BMWs, for example, like the 328. But the thing that I don't like about it is very specific. It's not that the car is low, because I've had low cars before that have had good handling, but not being comfortable. This car, when you go over bumps and cracks in the ground, it is, the word I would use is crashy. So it's enjoyable, in a sense that it gets good handling, but it doesn't handle bad roads well. Whereas, newer cars, especially cars that, are built for handling, they have a little bit better dampening, so that even if you aren't going over perfectly paved roads, the ride is bearable. In this case, I personally don't think that the car's handling is extremely outweighing the crashiness of the car when you're going over bad roads. So thank you guys for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.